The sirens in Compton don't sound like alarms. They sound like the weather. It is a constant, low-frequency hum that vibrates through the floorboards of your apartment off Rosecrans Avenue. A reminder that the line between peace and chaos is as thin as a single breath. You were 5 years old, sitting on the carpet, watching your father, Kendrick Duckworth, move through the house with a quiet, heavy authority. He's a man with a Chicago reputation, someone who survived the gang-infested streets of the South Side before moving your mother Paula to California with nothing but $500 and the desperate hope of escaping a cycle that usually ends in a cemetery or a cell. You see the duality before you can even name it. Your father is a provider, a man who works hard to put food on the table, but the house is often full of men with tattoos on their necks and heat in their waistbands, men the world calls gang members, but you call family. You are a good kid, a straight-A student at McNair Elementary, but your playground is a mad city, where the wrong color shirt can get you before lunch. You learn early to speak two languages, the crisp academic language of the classroom and the jagged rhythmic slang of the corner. You struggle with a stutter when you talk too fast, making you quiet and reserved. So, you learn to observe everything around you instead. You are Kendrick Lamar Duckworth, born June 17, 1987, and you are a silent observer of a war that has been raging since long before you drew your first breath. The year is 1995. You are 8 years old, and the world feels impossibly large and terrifyingly small at the same time. You are sitting on your father's shoulders near the Compton swap meet off Rosecrans and Wilmington, your small hands gripping his head for balance. A crowd has gathered, a thick mass of people vibrating with the smell of exhaust, cheap beer, and raw excitement. A low-rider bounces on its hydraulics, chrome wheels spinning in the golden California sun, and in the middle of the street stand two giants, Dr. Dre and Tupac Shakur. They are filming the video for California Love. You watch Tupac, his charisma radiating like a physical heat, a black revolutionary in a leather vest, commanding the attention of the world from the concrete heart of the ghetto. In that moment, a seed is planted deep in your spirit. You don't just want to be a rapper. You realize that music is the only thing powerful enough to make people look at Compton without looking down. You go home and start filling notebooks with poems, hiding them under your mattress like contraband. You don't tell your friends about the verses. You don't want them to think you're soft in a place where softness is a death sentence. You keep your grades up, you keep your head down, and you watch the drop. You lose friends to drive-bys before you even hit puberty, and you realize that your life is a coin flip. Heads, you find a way out. Tails, you end up as a mural on a brick wall on 151st. High school at Centennial is where the mask begins to slip and the artist begins to emerge. You are known as K-Dot now, forming a local crew called Hub City Threat while out-rhyming seniors in the back of the bus. You're invisible in the hallways, a ghost passing through the lockers, but when you step into a cipher, your voice changes. It becomes a sharp, precision instrument of war. You release your first mixtape, Youngest Head Nigga in Charge, at 16. You're mimicking the greats, Jay-Z's sophistication, Lil Wayne's erratic genius, trying on their flows like oversized clothes to see which one fits your frame. The tape gets local buzz, a ripple in the pond that catches the ear of a man named Anthony Top Dog Tiffith. He brings you in, puts you in the booth, and tells you to rap for 2 hours straight. Top Dog puts you in the booth, drops a beat, and tells you to rap non-stop to test your stamina and raw instinct. You pass the test. He's testing your lung capacity, your discipline, and your mental toughness. He sees the fire. He signs you to Dawg Entertainment. You find your brothers there, J-Rock, Ab-Soul, and Schoolboy Q. You are the Black Hippie Crew, 4 distinct voices united by a hunger that the industry hasn't seen in years. You spend the next 5 years in the dark, grinding, releasing mixtapes like Training Day and C4. You are technically flawless, a lyrical athlete, but you aren't you yet. You're still a student of the game, waiting for the moment the student becomes the master.
The shift happens in 2010. You drop the K-Dot moniker and embrace your real name, Kendrick Lamar. You release Overly Dedicated and the world starts to pivot toward you. You aren't rapping about the glamour of the lifestyle, you're rapping about the psychological weight of the witness. You're rapping about the ignorance is bliss mentality that keeps your people trapped. Then comes 2011 and Section .80. It's a conceptual deep dive into the lives of your generation, the children of the crack era, the 80s babies who inherited a broken world. You talk about Keisha's song, about the systematic destruction of the black family. Dr. Dre calls, the legend you saw on the Rosecrans corner is on the other end of the line. He wants to sign you to Aftermath. He tells you that you are the torchbearer, the one the West Coast has been waiting for. You have the backing of the greatest architect in hip-hop history, and the pressure becomes a crushing tectonic weight. You don't fold. You sharpen the blade. You prepare to tell the story only you can tell. October 22nd, 2012. Good Kid, Mad City drops like a bomb in the middle of a peaceful afternoon. It isn't just an album, it's a non-linear cinematic experience, a short film for the ears. You tell the story of a single day in Compton, the quest for a girl named Shireen, the peer pressure at the house with the gate, the robbery that goes wrong, and the death of a friend's brother in your arms. You are the protagonist of a tragedy who survives because of a prayer from an old woman in a parking lot. The album goes platinum instantly. But at the 2014 Grammys, despite 7 nominations, you walk away empty-handed, losing Best Rap Album in a controversial snub. The industry fails to validate you, but the people already have. You tour the world, performing for thousands who scream your lyrics back at you. You see the money pile up, the Grammy nominations, the fame. But as you sit in luxurious hotel rooms in London and Tokyo, the survivor's guilt begins to rot your insides. You're eating 5-star meals while your friends are eating jail food. You're signing autographs while your cousins are being buried in the dirt. You realize that fame hasn't freed you. It has just given you a larger, more expensive cage. In August 2013, less than a year after Good Kid, Mad City, you decide to test the temperature of the room and set the culture on fire. You get a guest verse on Big Sean's Control. You name every top rapper in the game, J. Cole, Drake, A$AP Rocky, and you tell them you love them, but you're trying to murder them on the charts. You call yourself the king of New York and the king of the coast. You demand excellence in a genre that has become complacent. The industry panics. Rappers release responses that feel like paper cuts against your armor. You aren't looking for friends. You're looking for a legacy. The tension between you and the Six God from Toronto begins to simmer here, a cold war fought in the margins of verses and the subtext of interviews. He's the pop star. You're the poet. He wants the club. You want the soul. You know that eventually the Cold War will turn hot. You go to South Africa in 2014. You visit Robben Island and stand in the narrow cell where Nelson Mandela was held for 27 years. You walk through the townships and see faces that look like your father, your mother, and the kids you grew up with. You realize that Compton is just one branch on a global tree of struggle. You scrap the commercial album your label wanted. You return to the States and record To Pimp a Butterfly. It is a chaotic, jazz-infused, funk-drenched explosion of black trauma, resilience, and institutional critique. You release All Right, and it becomes the anthem for a generation fighting police brutality in the streets. You end the album with a simulated conversation with Tupac Shakur, using old interview clips to ask him the questions you never got to ask on that corner in 1995. At the 2016 ceremony, you win 5 Grammys in one night. You perform at the 2016 ceremony in chains, in a prison cell, showing the world the raw reality of the American carceral system. You are at the absolute peak of your cultural power. But the butterfly comes with a psychological cost. You are exhausted, depleted by the weight of being the voice of a movement. You record Damn in 2017. It is sharper, more rhythmic and commercially massive, but deeply fatalistic. You ask if anyone is truly praying for you. You explore your own contradictions, your pride, your lust, your fear, your divinity. Humble becomes a global #1 hit. The album wins the Pulitzer Prize for music. You are the first non-classical and non-jazz artist to ever receive the honor. You are no longer just a rapper in the eyes of the establishment. You are a great American novelist. You are 30 years old and you have achieved everything there is to achieve. You have the respect, the accolades, and the platform. So you do the only thing left to do to save your soul. You disappear. For 5 years,
You become a ghost. You don't post on social media, you don't do interviews, you stay in the shadows with your high school sweetheart, Whitney Alford, and your children. The world moves on and a new generation of stars rises. The Big Three debate continues, with the world constantly comparing you to Cole and Drake, wondering if you've lost your hunger. You let the whispers grow. You are in therapy. You are deconstructing the prophet persona. You are realizing that you spent 30 years being a good kid for everyone else while your own internal house was on fire. You were dealing with generational trauma and the weight of a savior complex that nearly broke your spirit. You realize that your mission isn't to lead a movement, but to heal yourself. May 13th, 2022. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers arrives. It isn't what the fans expected. They wanted the anthem. They wanted the banger. You gave them a mirror instead. You talk about therapy, about your father's tough love, and about your own flaws and infidelities. You tell the world, I am not your savior. You step off the pedestal and into the light of reality. You perform the tour in a glass box, a visual representation of the isolation of your own mind. You have completed your contract with TDE. You launch PG Lang with Day Free. You are 35 years old, and your spirit feels ancient. You think you are done with the war. You think you have finally found peace in the silence. But the industry won't let you rest. In early 2024, the tension that has been brewing for 10 years finally boils over. J. Cole and Drake release a song called First Person Shooter, claiming they are the Big Three and that you were a distant third. You respond instantly. You jump on like that. You don't use subliminals anymore. You go for the jugular. F*** a Big Three. It's just Big Me. You tell Drake that his best work is a light pack. It is the beginning of a historic battle. Cole bows out, apologizing and retreating to the sidelines. But the boy from Toronto leans in. He thinks he can outmaneuver you in the digital space. He releases push-ups and tailor-made freestyle, mocking your height, your relationship, and your silence. He uses AI to bring back Tupac's voice to taunt you. That is his final mistake. You don't respond for weeks. You let him think he's winning while you perform a character study. Then, on April 30th, you drop Euphoria. It is a 6-minute surgical dissection of his entire identity. You tell him you hate the way he walks, talks, and dresses. You call him a scam artist. You follow it up with 616 in LA, showing him that you have moles inside his own camp. Drake responds with Family Matters, making heinous, unverified allegations about your family and your children. He thinks he has the kill shot. He drops it on a Friday night. 20 minutes later, you respond with Meet the Grams. It is the darkest song ever recorded in the mainstream. You don't rap to the fans. You rap to his son, his mother, his father, and the daughter he supposedly hid. You call him a predator. You call him a hollow man. Before he can even process the attack, you drop Not Like Us. It is a West Coast anthem, a club banger that labels him a pedophile. You turn the most serious allegations into a song the whole world dances to. You play it at your pop-out show in Inglewood on Juneteenth, performing the song 5 times in a row at the end of the night with the entire West Coast behind you. You don't just win the beef, you exile him from the culture. You show the world that there is a massive difference between a pop star and a king. You are Kendrick Lamar. You are 39 years old and you stand taller than the skyscrapers in downtown Los Angeles. You are a Pulitzer Prize winner, the most awarded rapper in Grammy history with 27 total wins. You are chosen to headline the 2025 Super Bowl halftime show, taking the biggest stage in the world on your own terms. You have turned your life into a liturgy, a sacred text for a generation that was told it had no future. You are the boy who didn't let the mad city take his soul. You are the man who realized that his greatest weapon wasn't his rage, but his honesty. You live in a world of mirrors where every verse is a reflection of your own flaws and the flaws of the country that raised you. You have nothing left to prove to the critics or the charts. You are the big me. You are the good kid who became a legend. The war is over, but the work of a king never ends.
You sit in your home, the quiet finally loud enough to drown out the sirens of your youth. You look at your children and you see a future that isn't defined by a coin flip on a Compton corner. You have broken the cycle. You have pimped the butterfly. You are the king. You are the poet. You are the silence after the beat drops. And for the first time in your life, you aren't looking over your shoulder for the police or the predators. You are looking forward. You are free. The camera is off, the microphone is unplugged, the world is listening to the echoes of your truth, and you are finally at peace with the man in the mirror. You don't need to be the savior anymore. You just need to be yourself. And that, you realize, is the greatest victory of all. The record stops, the truth remains, and for the first time in your life, you are finally, truly home.